Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday the 11th of February 2026. I'm going to say it's about 7 o'clock. Quite foggy here, as you can see. I'm on the return leg of my morning run, about 6 and a bit k's into it. Hopefully, if I've calculated correctly, I've got about 4 k's left to go to back where I started from. At the moment, I'm over in East Grove, or East Goulburn. That's just Frog's Hollow, as it's sometimes called as well. It's across the Mulwaree River and below the lighthouse that you see up on Rocky Hill as you come into Goulburn from the northern end. So that gives you the context. So today I'm going to talk about the FIFA World Cup. FIFA, for those who don't know, stands for Federation of International Football Associations. And in this case, the football they're talking about is the round ball version of football, or soccer as it used to be called. The FIFA World Cup is going to be held later this year, I think through August through to October or something like that, for in 3 countries: Canada, United States and Mexico. Now, the reason it's being held in 3 countries is because there are 48 teams in the competition, and those 48 teams will be in 12 pools of 4. And what that means when you have 48 teams, the last World Cup there were 32 teams, and the head of FIFA, an Italian gentleman by the name of, I think, Giovanni Infantino, certainly his family name is Infantino, not sure if Giovanni is his given name, but he's the head of FIFA, and he decided to expand the competition from 32 teams, so 8 pools of 4, to 48 teams. And that means that there's not one single country now that would have enough stadiums and training facilities and all the rest of it, which I'll explain a bit more in a moment, to be able to host the World Cup. Now, the reason he decided to expand the competition, and I'm sure he gave lots of reasons, one of which would be to no doubt claim more teams get a chance to appear at the World Cup, and that's certainly true. But the big reason is it'll generate huge amounts of money for FIFA. Some estimates say that they will make something like $5 billion in profit, and perhaps it's $5 billion in revenue throughout the period of the World Cup. There are some, and I'd be one of them, that would say that 48 teams will dilute the quality of the competition. The World Cup has been expanded before. I think at one stage it was 24 teams. It might have even started out with 16 teams. So it has been expanded before. But this is a bigger expansion. And I suppose it should be noted that there are more countries that belong to FIFA than belong to the United Nations. That is because some countries just don't belong to the UN, or are not yet recognised as a country by the UN, but for football purposes they've established themselves as a separate country from, or something like that. So let's break down the situation a little bit. We've got 48 teams. Now, let's assume, I don't know what the exact number is, but let's assume we've got a squad of 20 players. So that's allowing for the 11 on the field, plus a few substitutes each game, plus possibility of players being injured and ruled out of the competition, plus players who may be suspended in the early stages of the competition and then not be able to play and might be sent off in a pool game and not be able to play in the semi-finals and all that sort of stuff. Maybe less, but let's assume it's 20 players. So that's almost 1,000 players. Now, all those players have got to be accommodated in hotels or university dormitories or wherever it is. But that's not the end of it, of course. There's the coaching staff, which will include the main coach, a goalkeeping coach, a defensive coach, set piece coach, someone to hold the clipboard, someone to take the video and analyse it and so forth. Then there'll be the support staff of the gear steward, the dietitian, the sports psychologist. I don't really know how many people there'll be there, but let's assume there's another 20 of those per team, times 48 teams. That's close to another 1,000 people. And then you have the referees. Now for each game there is one referee in the middle and two what used to be called linesmen but are now called assistant referees. Then you have a fourth official whose job is to be available in case one of those three active officials is injured or unable to continue. Then you have the VAR, video assistant referee guy, that sits behind the replay screen. So we're now talking about 5 officials. Referees will have, I assume, in each location, a technical director, a coach, physio, technical director to make sure that they understand and are applying the rules and help them to analyse their decisions that they've made through video review of the game and so forth. So let's assume there's about another 10 of those. So we're getting up to close to 2,500 people just to put this thing on. Now, without a doubt, it's an outstanding feat of logistics and organisation to get this thing on and up and running. Spreading it over 3 countries makes for difficulties in terms of consistency of decision making by all the referees, consistency in the quality of the playing surface, so that one bunch of teams aren't saying, well, our stadium's no good, its surfaces are rubbish or whatever. FIFA have very strict requirements about the standards of the stadium. It must be rectangular rather than an oval, so the spectators are close to the action. It has to be an all-seating stadium, and so not every stadium in every city would meet those requirements. And then, of course, you have to have training facilities. So each team needs a place where they train, and so they've got to have a gym, a meeting room, a pitch that's a full-size football pitch so they can train like they're going to play and so forth. They probably need access to a pool for post-match recovery, so forth. So this is a huge logistical operation, and it runs, as I said, I think from August, when most of the European leagues finish, through to about October. Now, one of the things that Infantino has decided is that every game will now in fact be played in 4 quarters. Now, how he's going to do that is by saying that the 20-minute mark of each half there will be a drinks break, and because some games are going to be played in cities where the temperature is going to be hot and it's going to be very humid and so on, that makes sense. You probably, if you're a football fan, can recall seeing Australia play Thailand or Indonesia or somebody like that once on the home ground of the other team, and the players were wringing out their shirts. They were just soaked in sweat as if they'd been swimming. So a drinks break in the interest of player welfare sounds like a good idea. And because all the games have to be played under the same conditions, so some clubs or some teams can't whinge and say, oh, they got a drinks break and we didn't. It applies to all the games. The problem is some games will be played in warmish, dry, not humid conditions where the temperature will be in the mid-20s, that is Celsius, and a drinks break won't be necessary. Now, as I said, Infantino and the people behind this decision will say it's in the interest of player welfare. And you think, all right, there's a 1-minute break. Everybody stops, get a dose of magic water, get on with the game. But in fact, the drinks break at each game will last 3 minutes, and there are 2 of them, so obviously total 6 minutes. And during that time, the television screens will be full of players taking a drink, which won't be very interesting. So of course, that is a wonderful opportunity for the broadcasters to shove in 6 minutes worth of advertising. Now, the networks that have paid FIFA boatloads of cash to broadcast this event want to recoup their money, so they'll be charging big dollars for a ad during any of these games, and perhaps even FIFA will be getting a cut of that, I don't know. Now, if you are like me and you're old enough to remember, there used to be a rugby league competition back in the day when it was called the New South Wales Rugby League, called the Amco Cup. Amco were a brand of jeans, and they sponsored this cup. It's a midweek competition. It was played at Leichhardt Oval and played over 4 20-minute quarters. It was played for a good number of years before it just stopped. teams that had perhaps no chance of winning the premiership would concentrate on that. It was a knockout competition, so you might only play one game, get beaten and you were done. But if your team were struggling in the weekly competition, then the coach might decide, well, we're going to concentrate on this. We might actually win something, or at least go deep into it and win some prize money. Basketball, I'm well aware, is played in quarters. I think they're 12 minutes long. AFL, again, I'm well aware, played in quarters. I think it might be 20 minutes, I'm not sure. But football has always been a game of two halves. 45 minutes. You're allowed used to be 5-minute break. Somehow it extended itself to 15 minutes, I think. And the reason it was allowed to be 5 minutes is because when football first started and the rules were codified, some of the clubs that were formed were based around factories, and the owners of the factories would tell the employees and potential players that you can have an hour and a half off on Saturday to play football. An hour and a half became an hour and 35 minutes. You get a feed, or you get a half-time break, and that was all. As I said, it's extended to 15 minutes now, and of course that allows for the talking heads to summarise what you've just seen and then to throw in a bunch of ads. But 45 minutes meant that it was a game of fatigue and attrition somewhat, because we're about the 35th minute to the half time, the players would start, no matter how much training they do, would start to feel fatigued. And perhaps that's when a goal would be scored. And now you can be almost certain that this 4-quarter, 3-minute drinks break will prove to be a success. A success in terms of how much money it makes for the broadcasters, how much money it makes for FIFA, and the players will be, because they get a drink. And you're playing in hot, humid weather in Mexico, perhaps you'll appreciate the drinks break, as long as it's not too long and your muscles don't start to stiffen up, cool down, and then tear a muscle when you start up again. And so it's more than likely that'll become a permanent fixture of the FIFA World Cup from now on. And I suppose there'll be some people listening here now saying, well, so what? Hey, what? Football is entertainment. It's not sport anymore. It's entertainment. It's business and entertainment. And businesses have to make money and pay players their wages and so on. They need to raise money. All true. All definitely true. I suppose in one sense I'm just a sort of traditionalist of saying, well, it wasn't broken. Why fix it? Why not just leave it alone? In Australia, in the A-League, they use a wet-dry bulb thermometer to determine if or not there'll be a drinks break. So it doesn't mean that every game of every round there's a drinks break. If you're playing in Brisbane, and it's always humid, It's different from playing in Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth perhaps. So you look at the actual weather conditions and determine if a drinks break is necessary, and I think it's only 90 seconds. You go, well, so another 90 seconds, what's the big deal? As I said, it wasn't broken. Why not just leave it alone? So the fact that there are 48 teams now means it'll be almost impossible for Australia, even with New Zealand, to ever host the World Cup, because we don't have enough stadiums that would meet the FIFA requirements. We would not be able to accommodate all of those people that I've just described. Now you might say, well, we did it for the Olympics, and the Olympics are all in one place. They built a village. It's now apartments, and all the athletes and officials and everybody else stayed in the one village. You can't do that with the World Cup because you need a bunch of different stadiums, training facilities and so on. And so that means it's going to be very difficult for nations to be able to bid for the World Cup in the future. Alright, well those are some thoughts about the World Cup. When it comes, I hope it's an extravaganza of good football. And we see the best of the best doing what they do best. Hopefully there won't be too many blowout scores where teams are literally flogged because they're just not up to the standard they need to be able to play in the World Cup. And it'll be a competition where the player's performance is talked about and the referee is seen and not heard other than to blow the whistle when it's really necessary, and his performance isn't the thing that's talked about at the end of each game. Thank you for watching. Have any comments, you know where to put them. I will respond when I become aware of them. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your run if you're on one today. And if you're watching football over the weekend, hopefully it's a good game. And your team gets the right result. Just trying to get across here without getting run over by trucks and everything else that's going on here. Thank you for watching.